Hi there, my name is Letitia Pfinder and welcome to my channel for another episode of Follow Along Friday. So this is the first episode of Follow Along Friday this year, and if you're new to my channel, because we did just get a lot of new subscribers, welcome. And this is the day on Fridays where I post a new technique or like a walkthrough of how I'm doing a card that's not like super sped through or anything like that. Alright, so I'm using a picture that I got on Paint My Photo, and I'll put the link to that picture in the description box below. Now this is a watercolor painting, and I've just cut down some Canson XL watercolor paper to an A2 size card. I just cut it to fit on top of a card base I've already created. I didn't actually fold it into a card. And all I'm doing is going in and I am penciling out the outlines to this picture. And it's actually a really super easy one to do. There's not a lot of drawing or anything involved with it. So all I've done is put in my horizon line where the water meets the mountains, just on the bottom there, and then I'm sketching in my sailboat. And all I've done for that is I've made a long, kind of skinny rectangle on the horizon line going up past it a little bit, and then I've just gone up and I've curved in two triangles for the sails, and that was really easy. So then all I've done is gone in and sketch in the rolling hills or the mountains right there, just loosely, just some almost like W-shaped lines going up and down. They definitely don't have to be perfect. None of this does. And just a note, while you're penciling these in, you want to keep the pencil marks fairly light. You want to be able to see what you're doing or get a feel for what's on the paper, but you don't want to press too hard and you don't want the lines to be too dark, because you don't want the watercolor to soak up the graphite and have it kind of soak into your paper, and unless that's the look you're going for, but you won't be able to get rid of the lines that way. So I'm just going in with a little bit of blue, and I'm using Cerulean blue for this. I'm actually using my Cotman watercolor travel set. And that's just Winsor & Newton watercolors. You can use whatever watercolors you like. And I've just loaded up some water, some water onto the water there, just to do a wet on wet technique or effect. And this is the only real color other than the sepia tones that I'm going to be using. So I've just added in a little bit of just a few squiggly lines here and there, loosely, to create the effect or create the illusion of waves with the blue. And then I'm going in with some burnt sienna, and I'm just lightly going in and I'm just kind of going over to get a feel for it. Most of it's very light right now. The rest of it is going to get a little bit darker, but I like to, well, you should start off lighter with watercolors because it's really easy to overwork them. So I'm just going in and I'm kind of adding some water to that first little bit of the mountain there, and because you have to gradient the color a little bit to show the depth. So whatever is closest to you is going to be darker. So I'm going in with some burnt umber there, which is a little bit more of a darker brown. It's not as red or lightly tinted as the sienna is. And so it's actually got a little bit of almost a yellow tone to it when it's down on the paper. So I've gone in and I've put about a medium amount of color on there. I haven't like completely saturated it. And then I move on to the mountain part that's behind that, and I've lightened that up a bit. And I decided to go in and just start adding in the yellow colors right away. And this yellow that I'm putting into that second hill there is actually yellow ochre, which is a kind of browny yellow. And I've just gone in and I'm using my paper towel to lighten it a little bit because I want to layer these colors on to kind of blend them a little bit better. And I'm just going in with, I have a little bit of a smaller brush here to get into those spaces behind the sail, because it kind of gets up into a thinner space there. So I'm just going back and I'm relayering on some of that brown, and I'm just going to keep alternating until I have the right kind of effect I'm looking for. So you want it to look a little bit almost hazy, I guess might be the right word. I'm going in and I'm trying to recreate that beautiful glow that you're finding in the picture. That's what attracted me to this picture. I think that was just a really beautiful touch to it, having the sun just glazed down onto the entire picture. It was a beautiful image. It is a beautiful image. And other than the fact that I like the colors and it looked more masculine to me. And I know a lot of people always, are asking for more masculine themed cards because they don't feel comfortable maybe doing, flowery stuff for men and whatnot. But I think this is a great card for that. I think it's actually fairly unisex and it's a fun thing to do. Alright, so now I'm just going down and I'm darkening up that part of the hill or mountain that is closer to us. So I'm just going again in with that burnt umber and I'm just darkening it up a bit. Now the more water you use, the lighter the color is going to come out. So if you want to get something a little more dark, just use less water, which is what I'm doing here. I'm gradually adding less and less water. If I need it to spread a little more easy, I just put a little drop on my brush and then I'm spreading it out. And I'm not fussing too much with this. I'm not making an absolute work of art or anything like that. I think the cute little imperfections make this beautiful. It's not completely perfect thing that I spent 20 hours on or anything like that. That's the beauty of a handmade card, That's what I love to receive. I love to see the effort and the work put into it, but I know it doesn't have to be a work of art, and I think that's the charm of them. Okay, so now I'm just going in with some cadmium yellow and I'm just putting in that sunny layer on the very top. And then I'm adding a little bit less water again and going back over the brown I had already just kind of fussed together with the yellow before that in that second layer there. And I'm blending it out a little bit so that the line isn't so harsh on the hill, on the end of the hill. I'm just dabbing with the paper towel to bring up some of the color, give it a little bit of a cool effect there. And when you're doing this, when it's wet, it's just taking up the color, and you can let it dry a little bit and then take up some more color, and it just all depends on the look you're going for. So I decided here that I wanted to go in and I wanted to make that yellow even more prominent. So I've just added an even thicker layer on, and I'm trying not to overwork it too much. And then I'm going and I'm bringing it all the way down into the rest of the painting. So I'm doing it into that first layer of the hill there as well. And then I'm just going right on top of the work I've already done. And now I'm going in and I'm working on the sail, or the sailboat. So all I've done for this is I'm just going in with, again, my darkest brown, which is the burnt umber, and I'm just going to pile that on. I decided to turn the boat into a silhouette. When you're looking at the actual photo, it's not exactly a silhouette. You can see the people and a little bit of detail, but I decided that this would probably work the best for a simple painting, and it's quite effective. And so I'm just filling that in. There's really nothing special to this. I'm just going in and, oh, you saw I got a few drops there on my painting. I just wiped them off. That's a good thing about watercolor. And yeah, so I'm just darkening it up as dark as I like. You'll see that once the paint dries a bit here, once I'm done, it does lighten a bit. So I do have to keep going back in and darkening it to get it to the point where I want it. And I wasn't quite happy with how thick I made that little bit attaching to the other sail there, so I just loaded up some clean water onto my brush and then placed it right where I wanted to kind of take off that little bit of brown I'd put in, to make it thinner, and then I just used some paper towel and I wiped it off, and it came off great. It was fine. If you're gonna have to do something like that, do it as fast as you possibly can, because as soon as that paint starts to dry and soak in, you can't get rid of some of the color that's been put down. But again, watercolor is activated by water, so it is fairly easy to kind of fix those little uh-ohs. Now I should also mention that the brushes I used for this were very, very simple everyday brushes that you can find in any art supply store. I've just used a thin round tipped brush to do the sails and the actual boat, because you can get a thin point on there. I don't need to go too thin, but a point works. And then for the water and the hills, I generally just used a squared off flat brush. So there's no real size or anything like that. Just use what you're comfortable with. So, and that's what I did with those. And I decided to go in and add a little bit of that yellow color, so that cadmium yellow. So I'm going in and I'm just adding that to the water to kind of tie it all together. And it looks pretty dark right here, but I do go in and lighten it a tiny bit with some water. But I told you we were going to darken that water a bit, so. And I'm just filling out, you know, a little bit of the blues, a little bit of the other colors I was using, just to bring out the water a little bit more, because it was kind of getting lost in this picture a bit. I felt like it wasn't quite looking like water, so I wanted to bring that out a little bit more, bring some of the waves out a little bit more. And again, trying not to overwork it or add too much color, especially into the waves. So then I decided that in the picture it looks like there is another closer rolling hill or mountain, whatever it is, that we have there, and I decided that it would bring more visual interest to the card or the painting either way. And so I went in and I just added, I didn't draw it in or anything, just used straight paint to do this, and I'm using this basically the same amount or the same darkness of paint that I did with the sail. So I did it very, very dark and added in, didn't do anything special to it. It just it would be close, it would be the closest hill, so it would have to be the darkest hill. And see, like I said, I had to go in and darken the boat quite a bit. And I think I even did it once again when I was off camera, just because it dried again and I wasn't quite happy with the darkness of it. But this is the general idea. This is what it ends up looking like before it's all dried. So then all that's left to do is to adhere it to the card. And I decided to use some double-sided tape to do this, or some double-sided adhesive. I didn't want to add too much liquid to the actual card base because I didn't want it to warp. So your best bet is to let the actual card dry first, or let the actual painting dry first, and then use some double-sided adhesive or some like dry adhesive to adhere it to the card, so that you don't get that weird warping effect and it doesn't ruin the beautiful thing you've just made. Alright, and that's the card. I hope you guys enjoyed this painting. It was really fun and easy to do. If you guys do it, I'd love to see, so you can go ahead and share your finished pieces on my social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't be shy, I love to talk to you guys. So, and that's it. Until next time, my crafty friends.